Margaret never imagined the day would come when she would be treated like a temporary visitor inside the very house she had spent decades building. Yet that afternoon, her daughter, Claire, stood in the doorway with folded arms. Her voice was cold and practiced. "Mom, pack a bag. You'll be staying at a hotel tonight." Margaret froze, holding a tiny T-shirt belonging to her grandson. She couldn't believe her ears. Her son-in-law, Benjamin, walked into the hallway, leaning casually against the wall as if discussing something completely ordinary. He claimed it would make everyone more comfortable for his visiting parents. Moments later, Benjamin's mother, Evelyn, walked into Margaret's bedroom without asking. She inspected the shelves like a cheap hotel room, complaining it was smaller than expected. Her husband, Richard, simply chuckled and muttered that people have to learn when it's time to step aside. They spoke as if Margaret was completely invisible. Margaret packed without arguing, without crying, and without begging. But deep inside, her illusion that love alone could keep a family together quietly broke. She had no idea that leaving this house would trigger a chain of events that would expose secrets Benjamin had spent years trying to bury. The silence in the hotel room felt heavier than the suitcase she had carried in. Margaret replayed the conversation over and over. It wasn't just about making room for guests. It was about priorities, and somewhere along the way, she had stopped being one. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It wasn't her daughter. It was an unfamiliar number. "Mrs. Margaret Collins?" A calm female voice asked. "My name is Rachel from Green Valley Community Legal Services. I'm calling regarding a property registered under your name." Rachel explained that several property transfer requests had recently been submitted for the Willow Creek house, but none contained Margaret's finalized authorization. Margaret's heart skipped a beat. "I never signed anything," she whispered. A cold wave of uneasiness washed over her. For weeks, Benjamin had been bringing paperwork to family dinners, brushing them off as routine tax forms and insurance updates. She had trusted him blindly. With trembling hands, Margaret opened her purse and pulled out the legal folder Benjamin had asked her to keep, just in case. Tonight, for the first time, she actually read the words. The very first page made her blood run cold. Buried between the dense legal terms was a single sentence that stood out as if highlighted in bright red. Transfer of residential property ownership upon signed authorization. This wasn't an insurance form, it was a document to strip her of her home. She remembered his rushed words. "Just sign here, Mom. It's only paperwork." Trust in him had become second nature, and now that trust felt dangerously misplaced. Margaret stared at the message. He didn't ask how she was doing. He didn't apologize for casting her out. He only cared about the paperwork. But then, a chilling realization hit her. Benjamin had no way of knowing she had opened the folder, unless someone inside the house had told him. She called her daughter, Emily. When asked if Benjamin told her to spy on the papers, there was dead silence on the line. Emily finally sighed, admitting Benjamin believed the house should already be in his name to make things easier later. "Easier for whom?" Margaret asked softly before hanging up, completely heartbroken. The next morning, Margaret met with an independent legal aid attorney. The lawyer confirmed her worst fears. If she had signed those papers, ownership of her home would have transferred immediately. Sending her to a hotel was just a distraction to keep her from asking questions. A week later, Margaret invited Benjamin and Emily over for coffee. Benjamin smiled, casually asking if she found the documents. Margaret returned the smile, but placed her hand firmly over them. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation," she said. She calmly exposed everything: the secret phone call, the hidden transfer clauses, and the painful betrayal. Benjamin's confident expression slowly collapsed into a pale, breathless stutter. He tried to claim he was just protecting her from future taxes, admitting, "I thought you'd say no." Emily wiped away tears, whispering an apology for forcing her out of her own home. Margaret slid the second folder across the table. Benjamin opened it, his face turning completely white. The attorney had prepared new documents appointing an independent trustee. No changes to Margaret's property or finances could ever be made without her personal legal counsel present. "I haven't removed you from my life," Margaret said unblinkingly. "But from now on, my future will be decided by me." Trust didn't return overnight, but respect gradually did. Looking back, Margaret realized that lonely night in the hotel room was the weekend that changed everything. She learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't sacrificing everything for your family. Sometimes it's having the courage to protect yourself, even from the people you love the most. In the end, Margaret didn't just save her home. She reclaimed her voice, her independence, and a dignity that no one would ever take away again.